You ever feel like you're juggling too many balls in the air and you're one stress away from dropping all of them? Today's episode is for every woman who's out there trying to be a boss at work, a goddess at home, and still find time for herself without going crazy. You have dreams of learning how to balance all of it, but sometimes it feels like the whole world is waiting for you to trip up. Today, I want to unpack that stress with you. Let's unpack that stress and shake off that fear and tap into the true power of becoming the best version of ourselves. Let's talk about it. Hey Queens, welcome back to another episode of the Daily Becoming Podcast. I am your host, your sister friend, your auntie, your transformational coach, Coach Nick. Today's drink of choice is some alkaline water. Gonna ask you all again, have you been hydrating and taking great care of yourselves? So excited about today's episode of DBP. And y'all know we get real about a lot of stuff. Today we're going to be getting real about the struggles of becoming the woman that we desire to be. Okay, that thing come with a couple of struggles. Now, I know when I first started talking to you about becoming the best and highest version of yourself, it should have come with a disclaimer and a little warning sign that it's not going to be completely easy and it won't be a cakewalk. But what in life is? What in life worth having isn't something that you have to work for. And because we've been who we've been for so long, it may come with a struggle or two of some things that we need to change. Today it's going to be around what we think she looks like, or maybe pressures that we're putting on ourselves to be who we think she looks like. So it's something that I want to get straight right off the rip. You're not just balancing work and home life. You're balancing expectations. You're balancing society's idea of what a successful woman looks like, what is presented to you as a woman who has it all together, the perfect career, the perfect relationship, the perfect life, being the perfect mother, becoming a mother, right? Wrong. Sisters, perfection is a myth. And it's that myth that's keeping you stuck in this cycle of stress. And that's why you're so tired and worn out. You are trying to keep up with someone else's YouTube channel version of how they keep their life together, forgetting that this is edited, forgetting that this may be recorded over the course of a couple of days, forgetting that that may be what works for them, but it may not work for you. What this particular person that you admire and love to watch, what they do, you're forgetting that that is what works for their life and the way their life operates. And shout out to them. You're also forgetting that many a YouTuber will tell you that there's a lot that I leave out, and it entails a lot of planning with what they're going to record for a particular video. Ask me how I know. You're getting this video late because the one that you just watched came late because it was due up on a Monday a few days prior to. But I was not feeling 100 and literally was struggling to breathe, and you could even still hear it a little bit. So I had to push that back. Now, I could have come on the last episode and not mentioned that I wasn't feeling 100, or did an outtake of every time I coughed or when my voice started to get a little groggy. But the reality of it was is I wasn't feeling 100. I showed up as best I could in that moment. But when you watch it, that's not what you see. You see a perfected, edited version of where I was in that moment. Because guess what? My schedule said I was going to do this on this day. My body said, okay, you go ahead. I'm going to stay in the bed because my head is pounding. I'm going to stay in the bed because I barely have a voice. So I'm saying that we strive for perfection by way of we want to be as God created us to be. But perfection is going to be in your eye, not the eye of what someone says is for your life. Sometimes perfection is just being able to show up and do the very best that you can. Yes, you had 16 things on the list to do today, Superwoman, but Life started happening, and you had to end up taking your child to the emergency room. You had to go pick your child up from school because they had a fever. Maybe your husband wasn't feeling well. Maybe your job asked you to stay later than normal. So life happens, things happen, and we can't allow them to become stressors, and we can't stress ourselves out because it does not in line with our perception or expectation of perfection. Because if we don't learn to think differently, it's going to keep us in this cycle of stress. And it's going to keep you in a place that has you feeling like you are not as great as, that you don't meet the standard of. You're not 100% woman because you're struggling to balance something. You're struggling to do what other women can do with no problem. Please, let's get out of that mindset today. Can I give you permission? Can I be the one to give you permission to stop doing that today? To wake up every day with intentions, wake up with the plan. I'm not saying just live your life all la-di-da. Wake up with the plan. But allow grace to come in when grace needs to come. Stay on your butt for stuff that you know you slipping in, for stuff that you know you could have been doing, you should have been doing, but you was doing stuff that ain't got nothing to do with nothing. But allow grace to come in when you are genuinely and truly trying your best. Don't aspire to have my life. Don't aspire to have her life. Aspire to be the best and show up as best as you can in your life daily. This is something that I wrote down. We're all walking around carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders, trying to manage jobs, relationships, side hustles, and self-care like it's a competition. But who are we really competing with? Most of the time, we're competing with the version of ourselves that we've built in our minds. And that's really where the frustration lies. Now, with that said, you should definitely have a version of yourself that you are aspiring to become. And there's nothing wrong with knowing who you want to be and striving to get there. Here's where I want to caution you, challenge you, and ask you to take a self-inventory heart check. Where does that version of yourself originate from? Let me tell you a little fun fact. I grew up watching Bewitched, watching My Favorite Dad. I grew up watching The Brady Bunch. I grew up in an era where I was watching these shows that always showed the mother, the mom, the woman on the show. That chick hair was always in place. Makeup was always flawless. The house was kept immaculately clean. She made sure that they had breakfast. The children's clothes were ironed before they went to school. Their lunches were packed and ready to go. The husband had his meal on the table before he went to work. The house was clean again when they left. Dinner was always on the table. It was a superbly cooked dinner. Everything was timely. Everything was in order. She went to the grocery store. She paid bills. Like all of these things were done at a level of perfection. And I remember as a child thinking, I'm going to be that same way. So it took me to grow up and to be out here really living life to realize you can actually have life that way if that's what you desire, but you have to also structure everything in accordance to it. I also realized that that was television. They had writers that were writing that. They had actors that were acting that life out. These same actors and actresses that tell you that's not what their life was like. In their real life, they were struggling with alcoholism. They were struggling with drug addictions. They were struggling with producers behind the scenes telling them that you're getting too fat. They had wardrobe stylists and makeup artists and hairstylists. What I thought was their home life, it was a set. What am I saying, Nikki? That my ideal of what I thought was perfect and perfection, and this is what every woman aspires and should be, and this is how I want to be, was all something that was created in the mind of the writers. the producers, and the showrunners. What have you created in your mind? What have you told yourself? This is what perfection looks like. This is what the best version of you is going to look like. Does it originate from a desire in here in your heart that you genuinely want to be this woman? That you want to become this person? And to become her, these are things that you're going to have to do. These are things that you need to stop doing. These are things that you need to implement into your day. Or does it come from some fictitious place that you've conjured up in your mind, or that you learned inadvertently from watching someone else, or from thinking that if I were this, then life would be better. If I were this, then I would be perfect. If I do these things just like her, I can look like her and have what she has and be as happy as she is. I just want you to just sit and ponder on that for a moment. There's nothing wrong with seeing attributes from someone else's life, seeing how someone else cleans, or what cleaning schedule they've come up with, what meal planning schedule do they follow. There's nothing wrong with taking those things from someone else and allowing them to help you become better. You're taking tips from me by listening to these episodes. Nothing wrong with that. You have to learn to eat the fish, but leave the bones on the table. But if that's not a level of living that you can authentically do, and it's causing you stress and you stressing out everybody else around you because you're trying to keep up with what someone else is doing, we used to call that keeping up with the Joneses. Do y'all remember that? Because keeping up with the Joneses is not becoming my authentic best version of me. Keeping up with the Joneses is not what's best for Nikki's life. I'm just trying to do what the Joneses are doing, have what they have. But here's the thing nobody ever told us about keeping up with the Joneses. You don't know what's really going on behind the Joneses' door unless they tell you. And what they show you on a video may not be all that's happening. That's just the edited version. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Can we move on? Next, let's talk about the fear of dropping the ball. Like, what's holding you back? There is a real fear, this nagging voice in your head that keeps saying to you, but what if I can't do it all? If I slow down, everything's going to fall apart. That if I don't do everything, if I don't put this S on my chest today, that it won't get done and it's going to all fall apart. And that's just not the truth. That's your fear talking. And fear has a real funny way of making us believe that we're not enough, that the efforts that we're putting in is just not good enough, that the hours we're putting into the gym and all the planning that we're doing and all of this work, all of this studying, all of this striving and going to our therapy, all that's still not good enough. So we try to do more and we feel like, okay, well, maybe I should do it like she's doing it because then it'll be enough. Fear has this real funky way of altering what we know to be true into believing false narratives and what's not true. What did they say? The acronym for fear is false evidence appearing real. We've also been conditioned to believe that if we're not doing everything, then we're not doing anything. So if we don't have a morning routine, we don't have a skin routine, we don't have an exercise routine, all of this before 9 a.m., all of this before we feed our kids and get our kids up out of the bed or breastfeed our babies or get dressed to go to our jobs or prepare to go to school, then we're not doing anything. And then if we don't have a midday routine and then a getting ready for bed routine, a night routine, a nighttime skincare routine, then we're not doing anything at all. You've always had a routine, but then you watch someone that has 6 steps in theirs and you only had 2. They use 12 products at night. You were only using 3. So now all of a sudden you're not doing anything. What you're doing isn't good enough. And you fear that if you don't keep up with that, then you're not good enough. And what have you done in comparison to Superwoman over there? That fear of dropping the ball. Dropping the ball doesn't mean that you failed. It means that you're human. You're trying to juggle all these things. Something falls. Something has to get left today. Something just can't get done today. Something cannot get done this week with all the best efforts I put into it. I just can't do it this week. That doesn't mean you failed. That means you're a human. That means you need to sit down and maybe reconfigure your schedule, reconfigure your time management, reconfigure your planner. But it doesn't mean that you need to agree with fear and say that you're a failure. I know that you have a desire to balance everything so nothing does fall by the wayside. But make sure that that balance that you seek comes from a place of wanting fulfillment and wanting to reach this desired goal of evolving and becoming the best version of you that you can, and not from a place of perfectionism. And then lastly, I want to say, why are we stressing because we're so determined to make everybody else happy before we check in with ourselves? We wear this mindset almost like a vest or badge of honor. Podcast host, number one person that does it. We are stressed out sometimes and gun ho, 10 toes down with making sure that everybody else is happy, everybody else is pleased, everybody else is taken care of before we check in with ourselves. And Nikki, been guilty of it. Been guilty of it. Oh, thank you, God, for delivering me. Still in the process of being delivered from it because it's a real thing. We've actually been programmed and conditioned into thinking that everybody else's well-being is more important than ours. No, we should always consider others. We should always make sure we're not living selfish lives. We should make sure that the needs of others are cared for. But he never said you should never consider yours. You've heard me say before that love begins at home, then it spreads abroad. How can you give everyone else? Tell me if this makes sense, first of all. Does the math for you here? You can give everyone else 100% of you. Notice I said everyone else because you give yourself leftovers. You give you fumes and wonder why you don't feel fulfilled and wonder why you feel so lethargic and tired and exhausted with life. That's because you are offering yourself the leftover crumbs, but you're giving everyone else 100. That is why people can praise you and love you for all that you give, and you still feel like, how? When I'm not even, how? I don't even feel good about myself. How do you see those things in me and I can't see them in myself? Because you give 100% of yourself away and you leave you with the exhausted pieces of you, not the exhausted leftover pieces of you. Learn to start checking in with yourself first. Before I say yes to doing something that's going to make you happy with me, let me check in with myself first to see where I am in my tank. Am I on a fourth, 2/3? Am I half? Am I full? Am I in a position that I can even offer or do these things for you before I say yes? Let me make sure I'm at 100, close to it at least, before I can fill your tank up. Because if I fill you up and I leave mine on empty, the math doesn't math, and that's not balanced. That's not even healthy. If you've been enjoying this episode so far and you've heard some things that have said, ooh, Nikki, ouch, you all up on my toes, just know that Nikki's not that smart. And I did pray and ask God to give me the words that would touch your heart and meet you where you are today. But I don't want it to stop with today's episode. I want you to join the DBP family. I'd love to have you become a family member. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you can always be notified when there's a new episode available, and you can continue on this amazing journey that you started to becoming the best version of yourself. I love to talk to y'all down in the comments. I love to hear your thoughts, your feedback, and your questions. So go ahead and drop them below. And you can also send me an email if it's a little bit too personal and you don't want the world to know. Send it to me at dearlybecomingpod@gmail.com. And you know our motto here. We want to glow up together. So send this to someone else that needs to hear this and that needs to start giving more grace to themselves, to know that they are doing their best and they can learn to start stressing a little less. And now, back to the show. So let's talk about what balance really looks like. How can we begin to rewrite this story in our heads? Balance isn't about giving 50% to your job and 50% to your personal life. Balance is about giving 100% to yourself first and then letting everything else follow. Love begins at home and then it spreads abroad. Feeling burnt out, stressed, overwhelmed, and overworked? Well, imagine yourself escaping to a place where you can truly relax and recharge. A place where stress melts away and your only worry is which beach to visit next. I'm Nikki Johnson, the host of the Daily Becoming podcast, and I want to help you uncover the magic of travel as part of your self-care, a vital part. Travel isn't a luxury that's just for the wealthy. And I know, may seem out of reach, but whether you're a single mother, living on a fixed income, or just dreaming of your next vacation, you can save up to 70% off on amazing getaways, unforgettable experiences, and memories that will last a lifetime. Affordable and absolutely tangible, these vacations aren't dreams. They are real opportunities to rejuvenate, explore vibrant cities, and have an incredibly great time doing it. Are you ready to start your self-care journey? Text self-care to 650-881-4402 and discover how you can travel more, spend less, and live better. Your perfect getaway is just a text away. Text self-care to 650-881-4402 now to discover how affordable self-care through travel can be. Because you deserve to take care of yourself without breaking the bank. And now, back to the show. It's about setting boundaries that protect your peace. It's about setting boundaries that protect your time. And it's about setting boundaries that protect your energy. And also, if I may add, set boundaries that protect your thoughts about yourself and the way that you speak to yourself. As we begin to define balance for ourselves, keep in mind that it's about managing your energy, not just your time. You got to start balancing your energy. Maybe part of redefining what your time management looks like is moving things around to where you are optimizing when you have the most energy of the day, to optimizing when you have the most time to do something, but to make sure that you're optimizing, taking care of yourself at the beginning of the day, and actually finding ways to take care of yourself throughout the day. Now, that may also mean prioritizing what fuels you. If a morning routine is what fuels you, then do that. If having that time in the morning where you do specific things, whether it's skincare, exercise, journaling, reading your Bible, making yourself some green smoothies, whatever it is, or if it's all of it, make sure that it becomes a priority to you and do that very thing because it's important to you. Maybe you need to develop what's called a hard stop. And many of the meetings that I have, we'll hear people say, I have a hard stop at 11:30, which means no matter what happens at 11:30, I've got to get off. I have other things that I have to do. Maybe you need to start having hard stops in your life. Maybe you have to start saying, no matter what, I'm hard stopping at 3 p.m. to go get me an hour worth of workout in. No matter what, I have a hard stop at 5 p.m. No matter what's happening, work is cut off at that time. The rest of the day is devoted to myself and my family. Maybe you have to start saying, I have a hard stop in 30 minutes. I'm setting this timer on my phone. So in 30 minutes, no matter what, I'm getting off of social media. Maybe I'm saying that to myself because I find myself having to say, that's enough. It's been 10 minutes, get off. Because, baby, the rabbit holes be rabbiting. I fall down those rabbit holes when I'm on social media, especially when it's things that are feeding me. So I have to hard stop myself and get off. So start normalizing hard stops in your life. I want you to also learn to take breaks without guilt. I don't know about y'all, but sitting still for more than 10 minutes does something to me up here and in here. I'm sitting there and I'm sitting still, and my mind is still going on the things that I still need to do throughout the day. What needs to be done by this time or that time? Have I edited? Did I record? I have another meeting. I have something to do out in the community. All this is still running through my head, and I'm supposed to be sitting still and taking what's called a break. And if I sit still long enough and tell myself I'm not going to think about work, I'm not going to think anything in this moment, I just want to listen to my breaths. I just want to listen to the cricket that's very loud outside of my window. This guilt starts to kick in. Well, while you're sitting there on your butt, you could be doing this. And while you're sitting there doing nothing, you could at least do that. And while you're doing that, you could at least be answering your emails. Let's normalize taking breaks without guilt. Say this with me. I can take a break and not take guilt with me. Ooh, I like that one. I can take a break and not take guilt with me. Alrighty now, so enough with all the talking. Let's get into some action and some practical ways that we can actually begin to make this balance thing happen. And here are some tools that we can begin to start using today to create that fulfillment and that balanced life that we are desiring. Number one, we're going to start setting non-negotiables. Start setting non-negotiables. Identify 3 things that absolutely have to happen each day for you to feel grounded. Some of y'all are thinking, I don't even know where to begin. Here are some examples. Does working out need to be one of your non-negotiables? Is it a cup of coffee or a cup of tea? Because in that moment, you're actually just sitting and enjoying what you're sipping, and you're doing nothing but immersing yourself in that moment. Do you need 30 minutes of time to just sit and breathe or to pray? Maybe you need to sit and meditate. Is it 30 minutes with the therapist? Do you need to be outside walking for 30 minutes, sitting on your front porch, just listening to birds chirp and the cars go by on the highway, making up your bed every day? Making sure that before you leave your house clean and organized so when you come back home, you're not coming home to chaos. What are those 3 things for you that will help you stay grounded? For me, it's going to be prayer. It's going to be prayer because, baby, that'll be my number one. It's a non-negotiable. It's what you're going to do for yourself every day to stay grounded. I'd love to hear at least one of yours down in the comment. Number 2, delegate with no guilt. We're not going to delegate. We're going to delegate with no guilt. I'm going to tell you a little secret. Sis, you don't have to do it all by yourself. Girl, what? I don't know if nobody ever told you, but let me be the first to tell you, hello, my name is Nikki, and I'm here to give you permission to start delegating. You don't have to do it all. Delegate what you can, whether it's at work, work at home, relinquish some of the responsibilities to others. I know I say that knowing full well that you can do that and the person not do it, the way you like for them to do it. The person goes completely rogue and does it their own way. I get that. But if they don't work it out, find someone else to do it. What can you delegate when it comes to your home life? If you have children, children can clean. They can do more than we give them credit for doing. And it doesn't make you less than a mother because you say from now on going forward, you're going to do this by yourself. Baby, they can iron their own clothes. They can fold their own clothes. Depending on their age, they can wash their own clothes. They can wash dishes. They can even help you do with meal prep. My mama was masterful at this. She could call from work and say, I want you to go cut up all the onions. Be careful with the knife. Now we talking about somebody that's of age and able. I'm not talking about giving a 2-year-old a knife. But we would have the onions cut up. We would wash the meat as she tells us to wash it. We would season it per her directions. We'd put it in the oven per her directions. We knew how to wash clothes and fold. Back then, we started hanging them out on the line. Tell you on 48. But we knew how to do these things. They were delegated to us. Now, we looked at them as chores, but what she was doing was actually delegating work to us. There's no sense of you doing everything by yourself to prove to you that you are superwoman or that you're capable, or to prove to whomever that you are superwoman or that you're capable. You are capable. You're capable of delegating that stuff to somebody else to help you. Your time is valuable. What you do with it is valuable. And that is the mindset of a woman in control. CEOs and owners and entrepreneurs, they may start off doing everything by themselves. When they get to a certain level of that business, baby, they hire out. Come on, boss, babe. Come on, boss. You don't have to own a business to be one. Come on, here's another one for you. Cut your to-do list down. Maybe you have a whole bunch of stuff to do in a 24-hour period, but in that 24-hour period, you actually really only have 6 hours to get it done. But your list look like you got the whole 24. When you gonna sleep? When do you stop and eat? When do you take a break? When do you rest? When do you go exercise? When do you have a moment to yourself? Maybe you need to cut that list down. Instead of there being a million things on your plate, focus on 3 major priorities. Give them your all and crush them. And then if there is actual feasible time, pick one more thing and crush it. And then everything else you delegate to the very next day. We have 7 days a week. Granted, some things have deadlines. Some things have to be done by specific days. Make sure you are planning and managing your time accordingly. But don't mismanage your time and then try to get a million things done in a 24-hour period where you only really have 6 hours to get them done. That is where mindful managing of your time comes in. And also mindfully managing your energy. Remembering when you have the most energy in the day and maybe those top priorities need to be moved to that time. So you're definitely getting those things done in a day. Start doing some weekly check-ins. Once a week, sit down with yourself and check in to find out how you're doing mentally. How is your mental health? Are you taking care of it? Are you fueling your body properly? How is your energy? Are you letting things come in and sap it? Are things coming in that are draining you? Are you doing things that are draining you that you don't find joy in? Are there things that maybe you need to let go because they're not contributing to your mental health or your well-being? If you feel like you are burning the candle at both ends, it's definitely time to consider recalibrating what you're doing. You've all heard that no is a full sentence, complete sentence. How about we normalize saying no like the queens that we are and no longer saying yes to things that are draining us? It's okay to protect your peace. In fact, it's actually necessary. It's okay to say no without guilt. And it's okay to say no knowing that it could make someone angry with you. It could potentially cause someone to not like you anymore. But here's the key in that. If saying no to you for my well-being is going to cause you to walk away or cause you to no longer like me in the same manner, you're probably part of what's been draining my energy. But the responsibility is on me because somewhere I allowed that to be an okay and a normalized thing. So if you walking away is going to mean more of a peace of mind for me, if you walking away will allow me to have healthier energy around me, then I love you and I appreciate that you've been in my life. Thank you for coming to teach me what you came to teach me. And I pray you well as you go on your way. And I mean that with no shade. At the end of the day, Queen, you are the CEO of your life. You have the power to say how your time is spent and what deserves your energy. Dearly becoming, don't let the fear of balancing it all make you forget just how capable you are. You don't have to be everything to everyone, but you do have to be true to you. So the next time you feel overwhelmed by the juggle, remember this: it's okay to put the balls down. You are not defined by how much you can carry, but how well you take care of yourself along the way. So I want you all to stay balanced, give yourself more grace, stay blessed, and keep becoming the best version of yourself. You got this because God has you. And remember how much He loves you, and so do I. And never forget that becoming is beautiful. With that said, what is one thing that you're willing to let go of this week in order to find balance? I thank you all so much for watching today's episode about balancing life with less stress and more grace. I don't want it to stop with today's episode. I want you to join the DBP family. I'd love to have you become a family member. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you can always be notified when there's a new episode available, and you can continue on this amazing journey that you started to becoming the best version of yourself. I love to hear your thoughts, your feedback, and your questions. So go ahead and drop them below. And you can also send me an email if it's a little bit too personal and you don't want the world to know. Send it to me at dearlybecomingpod@gmail.com. And you know our motto here: we want to glow up together. So send this to someone else that needs to hear this and that needs to start giving more grace to themselves, to know that they are doing their best and they can learn to start stressing a little less. And until next time, I love you all so much. Bye.